Scene script. Picture this. The year is 1456, and a young prince named Vlad Dracula ascends the throne of Wallachia, a region of modern-day Romania. Born into a world of power and corruption, this prince was destined for a life of conflict. Vlad, son of Vlad Dracula, was not just a prince. He was a pawn in a deadly game of political chess played by the neighboring empires of the Ottoman Turks and the Hungarian Kingdom. Raised in the opulent courts of the Ottoman Empire as a hostage, Vlad learned the harsh realities of politics and survival at an early age. It was this hard-learned lesson that would ultimately shape his rule and his legacy. Returning to Wallachia, he found his homeland in chaos, his father murdered, his elder brother tortured and buried alive. The culprits, the boyars, the noble class of Wallachia, who had grown drunk with power and greed. They had betrayed their own sovereign, their own kind, for the promise of wealth and influence. Vlad was not a man who took kindly to betrayal. He was a man who believed in justice, albeit a justice so dark and twisted that it would make the blood of the most hardened warriors run cold. And so he decided to teach the boyars a lesson they would never forget. On Easter Sunday, a day of celebration and peace, he invited the boyars and their families to a grand feast. As the boyars feasted and reveled, Vlad's soldiers surrounded the banquet hall, blocking all exits. One by one, each noble was seized, their screams echoing through the hall as they were impaled on stakes. A gruesome sight, a horrifying spectacle of his vengeance. This was Vlad's first significant crime, a crime not of passion, but of cold, calculated retribution, a crime that sent a chilling message to all who dared to defy him. And thus began the reign of Vlad Dracula, a ruler marked not by his nobility but by his thirst for blood and vengeance. Vlad's thirst for blood did not end with the boyars. His reign was soon marked by a series of brutal punishments and executions. His most notorious method of punishment was impalement. This gruesome act was not just a means of execution, it was a spectacle of terror. Victims were skewered on long, sharp stakes, left to die in excruciating pain over hours, sometimes days. The spikes often displayed these unfortunate souls as a macabre warning to all who dared to defy Vlad. But his reign of terror didn't stop at his own people. Vlad launched an attack on the Saxons, who had previously supported his rivals for the Wallachian throne. Not only did he burn their towns and murder their people, but he also impaled their survivors. It is said that he left a forest of impaled victims in his wake, a sight so horrifying that it would haunt the survivors for the rest of their lives. Even diplomatic envoys from the Ottoman Empire were not immune to Vlad's brutality. When two Ottoman emissaries refused to remove their turbans in his presence, citing religious reasons, Vlad responded in his typical bloodthirsty fashion. He had their turbans nailed to their heads, ensuring they would never be removed again. His actions were not just cruel, they were strategic. Vlad used fear as a weapon, ruling through terror to keep his enemies at bay and his subjects in line. His methods were undeniably brutal, but they were effective. For a time, Vlad Dracula held his power over Wallachia with an iron fist and a forest of stakes. Yet no reign of terror can last forever. As we delve deeper into the life of this infamous ruler, we'll see how his bloody rule came to an end. But one thing is clear, his reign was one of terror and bloodshed, earning him the moniker Vlad the Impaler. In 1462, Vlad committed what would become his most infamous crime, the night attack of Targovist. That year, the tensions between Vlad III, the Wallachian prince, and the Ottoman Empire reached a fever pitch. The stage was set for an event that would shock the world and immortalize Vlad as a figure of nightmarish horror. In the dead of night, Vlad and his soldiers launched a surprise attack on the encamped Ottoman forces. The Wallachian prince, known for his strategic prowess, had meticulously planned this assault. The Ottoman soldiers, caught off guard, were easy prey for Vlad's men. By the end of the night, thousands of Ottoman soldiers had fallen, their lives snuffed out in a massacre of unprecedented scale. But the carnage of the night attack was just the beginning. Vlad, in a gruesome display of power and dominance, ordered the bodies of the slain soldiers to be impaled. The sight that met the surviving Ottoman forces the next morning was one of pure horror. Thousands of impaled bodies, their lifeless forms grotesquely displayed on long, sharp stakes. The field of Targovist had been transformed into a forest of the dead. This was more than just a show of force. Vlad was sending a clear message to his enemies. He was not to be trifled with. The sight of their fallen comrades impaled and displayed for all to see was meant to demoralize the Ottoman troops, to break their spirit and their will to fight. Vlad's methods were undeniably brutal, but they were effective. His enemies feared him, his subjects obeyed him, and his name became synonymous with blood and terror. His reign was marked by violence and cruelty, but to Vlad, this was justice. For him, the ends justified the means, no matter how horrifying those means might have been. The night attack was a chilling testament to Vlad's ruthlessness and his twisted sense of justice. To this day, the name Vlad Dracula evokes images of blood-soaked fields and forests of impaled bodies, a chilling reminder of a time when fear and terror reigned supreme. Vlad's reign of terror came to an end in 1476, but his legacy of brutality lived on. A tyrant's fall is never a quiet one, and Vlad Dracula's was no exception. His downfall was as dramatic as his rise, steeped in the same blood that had marked his reign. In his final years, the once feared ruler found himself cornered by enemies on all sides. His own people, weary of his cruel rule, turned their backs on him. His allies, once swayed by his power, began to see the monster beneath the crown. His final crimes, committed in a desperate bid to retain control, only served to hasten his end. In 1476, Vlad met a violent end, assassinated by those who once served him. His death marked the end of an era, but the shadow of his reign lingered. His brutal methods, his disregard for human life, and his cruel pleasure in the suffering of others left a stain on his name that would never fade. In death, Vlad Dracula was remembered not as a ruler, but as a monster. His name became synonymous with brutality, a chilling reminder of the horrors he unleashed upon his people. His posthumous reputation only served to reinforce his image as a tyrant, a figure of fear and loathing. His crimes, horrific as they were, have shaped his legacy. They've painted a picture of a man who reveled in violence, who saw fear as a tool and suffering as a game. It's a legacy that has survived centuries, a testament to the enduring power of his reign of terror. Even today, his name evokes images of a bloodthirsty ruler, a man who ruled not with justice, but with fear. Vlad Dracula died a tyrant, remembered not for his rule, but for his crimes. His reign may have ended, but his legacy lives on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the crown. Vlad Dracula's crimes have left an indelible mark on history, shaping our understanding of this infamous ruler. His reign of terror, while brief, was characterized by a ferocity that still resonates throughout the annals of history. The impact of Vlad's crimes on his subjects was profound, resulting in a populace living in constant fear of his unpredictable and brutal methods. These actions not only set a chilling precedent for subsequent rulers, but also fundamentally altered the course of his nation's history. Vlad's rule, marked by a pervasive culture of fear, left an indelible mark on the psyche of his subjects. His brutal methods served as a grim reminder of the potential for human cruelty, a legacy that would linger long after his demise. Subsequent rulers, while perhaps not as overtly brutal, could not escape the shadow of Vlad's reign, his actions serving as a dark template for the wielding of absolute power. Beyond the confines of his realm, Vlad's legacy has permeated popular culture. His reign, marked by its gruesome practices, has served as a source of inspiration for countless tales of horror and dread. Most notably, his life and actions have been immortalized in the legend of Dracula, a character whose name alone evokes images of terror and bloodlust. This cultural icon, while a dramatic departure from the historical figure, nonetheless encapsulates the essence of Vlad's reign: fear, domination, and a chilling disregard for human life. In this way, Vlad Dracula's legacy extends far beyond his historical context. His influence can be felt in our films, our literature, and our shared cultural consciousness. His brutal methods, while universally condemned, nonetheless offer a stark reminder of the potential for human cruelty. Vlad Dracula, a ruler marked by his crimes, continues to haunt our collective consciousness, a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty.